Hello and welcome back to the Extra Point Podcast. We are on our second episode, and today we're going to be talking about the Champions League and the games that are coming this weekend. I'm Lorenzo, and I'm joined by Syon for this episode. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to discuss all the games, big players that are injured or in, all the big events that are happening this week around the game, the previous first leg of the game, and we're gonna debrief it all. So I think we should start with the Manchester City versus PSG game. Sam, what are your initial thoughts on the overall second leg?
Yeah, so for the second leg of the game, I expect Manchester City to fully come out with a win here. PSG seemed to dominate the first half of the first game and then completely fell apart. Kevin De Bruyne really took over. I just think Manchester City's defense is too strong for PSG to overpower without Mbappe. And I'm excited to see what Pochettino draws up here for them, as Mbappe is their leading goal scorer in the Champions League, and Neymar isn't as effective without his weapons around him to utilize. And Manchester City's attack has been especially extremely efficient recently in scoring goals. Um, you could argue that both of their goals were lucky against PSG last time, but a goal is a goal. So they go into home with the 2-1 aggregate, which means PSG is going to have to put up 2 goals to even tie it with them. So I'm excited to see what happens, but I fully believe Manchester City is going to come out with a win and move on to the finals.
So going back to some of the key parts of the last game, you say two goals, which were probably should have been saved. Some defensive mistakes here, but from what we know, it seems that Mbappe may not play in this coming game, fighting a bit of an injury right now. So it will be interesting to see what formation they go with. From the current assumption, it seems that PSG are going to have to chase this game in all forms of the game, so probably a more attacking formation. Neymar's really going to have to be leading that attack, but without the possibility of not having Mbappe on the team, it could really be some issues there. But I think from Man City's perspective on this game, I think they're going to go for a bit of a sit back in the first half, maybe try to see what's going on early with PSG, then maybe chase the game in the second half, try to close it out. But I think key players for this coming game, I think Phil Foden had a bit of a bad game last time, to be honest, had a bit of a slow game. But I think defenders like Kyle Walker and Joao Cancelo, they're really going to have important roles against this strong-winged PSG team, like the likes of Neymar and Di Maria. Who do you think are the key players for this game?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the formations both teams came out in last leg, and PSG came out in a 4-2-3-1, and Manchester City came out in a 4-3-3, and obviously Mbappe not playing would completely shift the way that PSG has to play, as they would probably have to start with Mauro Icardi on the field, and the key players for each team, assuming Mbappe is not playing for PSG, would be obviously Neymar, and Di Maria is going to have to step up a lot, and Paredes is definitely going to have to take a stronger role in the offense with Ander Herrera, especially because Idrissa Gueye is out with with a red card. So those players are really going to have to step up, and PSG's front three midfielders, attacking midfielders, Di Maria, Neymar, and Verratti, are all pretty interchangeable in where they go in the field. But Di Maria is more tightly knitted to the right side of the field, with Verratti and Neymar kind of fluid switching around. So it's going to be a real trouble for them without Mbappe to get through balls, which he really didn't get any through balls in the last match. Really getting only one shot on goal, or one shot in general. And obviously for City, De Bruyne is going to be their impact player, with Cancelo and Walker having to do most of the brute work in the defense, as John Stones and Diaz have been playing sensational recently. And their midfield three of Rodri, Silva, and Gundogan have been outstanding. Really, everybody's been great. And in the last game, I think it's important to note they didn't have to sub on Laporte, Mendy, Fernandinho, Gabriel Jesus, or Raheem Sterling to win that game. And Phil Foden coming off a bad game, you might see Raheem Sterling peek back into the starting lineup, which I think would cause even more troubles for an already weak Paris Saint-Germain defensive side.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think going back to your PSG points, I think not having Mbappe would shake it up. Do you maybe see Draxler as a false nine? I think Icardi's probably your best shot here, just based on consistency and goals. They need goals. That's what they need. But shifting over to the City side, speaking about the false nine, last game they played with Bernardo Silva as a false nine, and surprisingly, it worked very well for the result. Did he have as much as an impact on the game as they wanted? Maybe not, but I don't think they care because they got the win. uh, De Bruyne, again, playing exceptionally. I think that if Manchester City can hold the line defensively, maybe get a goal just to seal it, sub on Jesus and Sterling or Foden, whoever starts, one of them just gets a goal. I think that's pretty much a done deal for City. But the key to victory, I think, for PSG here, assuming there's no Mbappe, which is the current narrative, although he did travel, I doubt he's going to play very much if he does. I think the game really rests on the shoulders of Neymar here. But what I will say is PSG away from home this season has been exceptional. They did it against Bayern, they did it in the Camp Nou against Barcelona. These are big games. But the issue here is the player that they had most and scored the most goals in those games was Mbappe. And without him, it could really shake it all up. Let's transition over to Real Madrid versus Chelsea here for a second. So, Real Madrid had an interesting game at home. I mean, scoring right after Pulisic scored for Chelsea, Benzema tied it up. Not the most tidy performance. The second half was a little shaky for both teams, but what can we expect going into leg two?
Personally, I am a Chelsea fan, so I am biased towards Chelsea here, but I'm gonna try and stay as impartial as possible. But when you look at the statistics of last game, Real Madrid got off 9 shots, one being on target, that one being Karim Benzema's goal. Chelsea had 11 shots and 5 on target. So clearly, Chelsea are creating more chances to strike. And I think if Timo Werner actually hits the target, not being the goalkeeper, which he did plenty of times in the last match, I think Chelsea is going to walk away with a win here. I just feel that their defensive like brawn against matching up with Real Madrid was perfect last game. Obviously, that one goal was a little bit unfortunate. Benzema, all credit to him. That was an incredible goal. But Pulisic seems to be back in form. Werner always has the threat to score, although he rarely does. Um, but the threat is there, and they were. I think Madrid was all over the place last game, so I'm excited to see what Thomas Tuchel and Zinedine Zidane pack for each other.
So last game we saw again Real Madrid has a lot of people out right now. One, the most notable being Sergio Ramos. I mean, a pivotal player, but been fighting injuries this whole season. Uh, do we see Eden Hazard starting this game? I mean, I don't think so because, well, he's not been in the greatest form, been injured. Yes, it's his former team, but honestly, I think the key to victory here for Real Madrid is Toni Kroos and Luka Modric in the middle of the park against Mason Mount and the Chelsea midfield as well, because it's really going to be settled there. You know, Chelsea might play Giroud, who knows, back at home. They might play whoever they have there. But I think that it's the service from the midfield which really ties it all together because if there's no service, we know Real Madrid, very one dimensional when they can't get the ball to Benzema. Maybe Vinicius Jr. pulls out a goal. Who knows? But Chelsea have found more ways to score than just Benzema. You have Pulisic, Mason Mount. You have Ziyech on occasion. It's there's more options for Chelsea for this game. I think though is that Chelsea is definitely going to try to push early and then sit back once they have that other goal because it's tied 1-1. They need that goal, so I don't think Chelsea's going to go with like a fully defensive look. But I think the one person you have to mention when you talk about Chelsea is N'Golo Kante, who's had an excellent season for Chelsea, in my opinion, especially in the Champions League. Bosses the midfield. What big of a role does he play against Luka Modric and Toni Kroos with Mason Mount next to him?
Yeah, I mean, I say looking at highlights of the last match, N'Golo Kante pretty much shut down Toni Kroos and Luka Modric supplying balls to Karim Benzema, and he played almost a flawless defensive match, having a few sprouts of attacking in there. He had that one amazing run that almost ended up in a goal, but we could not. Chelsea could not finish. Um, but both teams came out in the same formation last game, a 3-5-2, with for Madrid, Benzema and Vinicius Jr. at the top, with Marcelo and Carvajal on the wings, with Cruz, Casemiro, Modric manning the middle, and Nacho, Varane, and Militao in the back. And Chelsea came out with Werner and Pulisic up top, Chilwell and Cesar Azpilicueta on the wings, Mount, Jorginho, Kante in the middle, Rudiger, Silva, and Christensen in the back. And out of recent form, I'm taking. I think Benzema is slightly having the edge on Pulisic just because he's so much more skilled and much more veteran to Pulisic. But Werner creates a lot more chances than I've seen Vinicius Jr. create. And the middle three of both teams right now in form, N'Golo Kante is as good as Toni Kroos or Luka Modric when defending. And I think N'Golo Kante is the impact player once again, shutting down that Real Madrid midfield and allowing Mason Mount to push up higher in the field to almost play center attacking mid to supply Werner and Pulisic where he's best. And Jorginho is obviously gonna have to pull his weight, which he's done a decent job recently, but he is, in my mind, still a little bit of a liability. And that back three is looking really solid in shutting down Benzema. Besides that one goal he had, which was exceptional and was 100% all his skill. But like you said, for Real Madrid, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are going to have to step up. But I don't know how much they're going to be able to do against a incredibly in form N'Golo Kante at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's really impossible to talk about Chelsea and not mention that man, N'Golo Kante. I mean, he's just a boss of the midfield at every level. I think the only part that Toni Kroos and Luka Modric have on him is ball playing because, I mean, it's not that Kante is bad, it's just that they're exceptional. But I think in work rate, speed, defensive work, I think he beats them at all of those things, which is credit to Kante. I mean, he's been playing exceptionally recently. Uh, I think to close out for both games, some final thoughts on both the games. I'll ask you first, and then I'm going to comment on it. Final score, biggest players for each game, weaknesses, and what will win the game for each team. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'll start with PSG and Man City. I have City winning this one 1-0. Maybe we have a shootout game and it actually goes 3-2 to City. But right now with Mbappe, even if he does play, he's going to be coming off an injury, so he's not going to be as effective as he once would have been. So I have City winning 1-0, and that leaves them at an aggregate 3-1, moving on to the finals. And City's obviously greatest strength is right now is being able to turn their exceptional defense into a quick attack. And right now, Paris is just they're missing attacking presence without Mbappe. So I do believe City's going to come out with a win in that match. And for the second leg of Chelsea and Real Madrid, I currently have Chelsea coming away with what I think is going to be actually a 2-1 affair, with Madrid losing on the losing end. Again, I think Benzema is going to score because he has a nose for the goal and he has a habit of scoring when they need it most, but it won't be enough today, or rather Wednesday. And I think Pulisic is in form and he's playing out of his mind right now. So I think that form is going to continue into the next match, and maybe we see Mason Mount or Timo Werner hit one in. But I think Chelsea right now is just their back line is playing incredibly well, or matches up incredibly well with Real Madrid, only having one big man, target man that they can hit. So I have Chelsea and Manchester City moving on to the finals.
All right, well, I'll unpack the first game like you did, PSG versus Man City. I like to stir the pot a little bit, so I'm actually going to pick PSG only because now they don't have Mbappe and they have probably what's going to be a shaky lineup. But Pep Guardiola in the semifinals, quarterfinals area, he has not made it to the finals very often. I just think that somehow, some way, PSG are going to go over City. But at the same time, I would not be surprised if Manchester City pulls out 3-0. But for my prediction, I think I'm going to go 3-1 PSG. It's a bold prediction, but that's what this podcast is all about. Uh, Going on to the next game, Real Madrid Chelsea. As much as I think Karim Benzema's a threat going forward, I think that it's just a gap when it comes to the rest of the team. Chelsea's been playing very well, but I think ultimately what's going to win this game for Chelsea is just their midfield and their ability to turn that like sitting back and absorbing the pressure into a suffocating attack. I think that's really what's going to win Chelsea this game, especially now that Real Madrid are going to be chasing the game a little bit. And I think Chelsea gets an early goal, maybe falls another one. I don't think Real Madrid nets in this game. I'm going 2-0 Chelsea, and I think they're going to close out the win. Any final thoughts on either of these games before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got blessed with two amazing Champions League ties. Obviously, the goats are not present, which I think is a little bit of a shakeup for once, not having Juventus or Barcelona playing. But we could be seeing an all English final, or we could be seeing only one English team, or maybe even no English teams, which I think is going to be interesting to watch pan out. But I really think we're going to be blessed with quality football out on the pitch, and I'm excited to watch what happens. 12 p.m. Western Standard Time on Wednesday. I'll definitely be tuning in, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I think everyone in the soccer world is eagerly anticipating those games. We will be here again the day after those games unfold, unpacking it, and then we're talking about the final, which who knows what that'll be. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening, however you see this, hear this. Uh, this has been a blast. Thank you, Syon, for joining me on this, and that's a wrap on this episode.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching or listening, I guess.